Copper 360 CEO Jan Nelson aims to declare a maiden dividend in February. This after reporting a 121 million rand operating loss for 2023, losing more than half of its metal production to load shedding, and its only processing plant failed to achieve targets. Nelson tells the Financial Mail that 2023 was never about driving profitability, but about getting the company set up. Editor for the Financial Mail, Marc Hasenfuss, joins us now with more insights on the company's prospects. Marc, always a pleasure and a good afternoon to you.
Good to be here again.
Wonderful, Marc. We keep hearing that copper is the new gold. Let's talk about that, the potential for, of course, this metal, but also the demand and the supply dynamics that will lead to a surge, a super cycle, as we're calling it.
Well, we've seen the very well documented BHP tilt at Anglo. We know that was all about copper, obviously. So it is the flavor of the month, so to speak, in terms of metals. It wasn't always that way. I mean, again, calling on my long past, I remember the days when there were 4 copper mines listed in the JSE, Palabora being the big one, which I think it was owned by Rio Tinto, and there were a couple of small ones in Zim and Botswana, etc. Wasn't the most popular sector at all. In fact, I do remember someone once tipping off the Business Day newsroom in the late 80s that they could develop a catalytic copper converter. I think someone was trying to mess with the platinum price at that stage. And it was actually true, in fact. But the problem is you didn't have to buy shares in copper mines. You had to buy shares in Fenter trailers, because the catalytic converter made by copper would be so big you need a Fenter trailer to pull it. So it's had its ups and downs, but at the moment it's in an absolute sweet spot. It's all eyes on Anglo and what they're going to do, but then you've got a couple of small little plays on the JSE that are very interesting as well.
Yeah, let's talk about the Copper 360 as one of those plays. It's obviously a pure copper play that we are seeing there, Marc. And it's very interesting because, like Jan Nelson says, it's been about setting up the business, and now we're looking for it to thrive. But I'm just keen to get, your overall sentiments and remarks about Copper 360 as a business.
Yeah, look, it's a absolutely classic junior mining business. We saw the announcement in, I think it was late April, that they shipped the first copper concentrate. Share just shot the lights out. I think it doubled. And then I suppose you get the reality check of, operations, and a huge loss, a bit unexpected, I suppose, a bit disappointing. If you read the remarks on social media, it was almost akin to something like Renogen, which isn't producing its helium on time, etc., etc. And that's the kind of reaction you will get in junior mining. But the funny thing is the share price has held up pretty well despite this kind of negativity. And yeah, look, it's not a very liquid share. I think a lot of it's held by one vendor and a couple of institutions. So it's holding up. Jan's been around a long time. He's well known. I think you could probably take him at his word. He's made some bold predictions, as you read out earlier. But listen, this is junior mining. We've seen this before. The best laid plans, dare I say, they go awry. But yeah, touch wood, it looks like an interesting play. And if they get things right, yes, a very, very intriguing prospect.
Also interesting here, I think I must ask you about the intricacies of keeping Copper 360 then takeover proof, because like you're mentioning globally, this is expected to becoming a boom. I think it's in the process of becoming a boom market here, but it also means that companies, junior miners like Copper 360, can become takeover targets.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, and this is not something I particularly like. I think Jan might have mentioned the article takeover proof, and yes, they've got one big vendor that vended a mine into the business before it listed. So a lot of the shares are tied up there. Then you've got, I suppose, let's call them two friendly institutional shareholders who probably won't be swayed yet. It's early days. They probably like to see how things run at Copper 360 before deciding to capitulate to any hostilities or advances. But yes, I mean, I think it would point us to kind of tilt at this one unless the offer was extremely, extremely good. So we can't write that off, money's money. But no, I don't think there'd be corporate action here. And I think the thing to watch is operational progress for the time being.
Talk about operational progress. Let's also talk about the balance sheet of this company, Marc. It does look like they have to be very well funded to ensure that they reach their potential. How are they faring on that side?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's just listed. It's raised capital, and I think let's be honest, Jan Nelson's been around a long time. I think if there's ever a need, and there isn't at the moment, I don't think to go to the markets again. I probably think he'd get some backing, so I don't think there are any issues there at this point. And yeah, look, this thing, judging by what they're saying, is close to production. There'll be cash flows, so that's going to oil the balance sheet as well. Yeah, no issues on that side at all.
And then there's also the issue, I think, here, Mark, of course, the wonderful copper story that we're telling today. But I just want to maybe think back to PGMs. At some point, we're telling a wonderful PGM story. And then technology kind of advances, right? And it changes the prospects of anything. Then, of course, the mining sector could be full privy to that. Is copper a little bit more defensive than what we might have seen PGMs being?
Yeah, I hope for the sake of Anglo-American, yes. But yeah, I think the electric vehicle market, the burgeoning market there, that will take up a lot of slack in the demand. So that's going to help a lot. There's always been a core market in copper. I mean, wiring in every household, in every building, every electrical motor. There's a jewelry application, which is not so big these days, but health stuff as well. There are applications. So there is something there. Yeah, of course, if something advances beyond the electric vehicle and we don't need all that wiring in electric vehicles, yeah, there could be an issue. But for the moment, I don't see anything on the horizon, and touch wood for Anglo-American.
Well, we'll be watching this one very closely, Mark. Always a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. That was Marc Hasenfuss, editor for the Financial Mail.